I am joined today by Lani. Hello, Lani.
Hello.
Have I got the name right?
Yes, most people either say Lani, Lani. I answer to a lot of things, but Lani's right.
I knew it couldn't be Lani because there needs to be a double E or an EY or at least two I's. So I thought it can't be that. So Lani makes the most sense.
Well done.
Thank you. I do try. I have to ask occasionally, having grown up in Wolverhampton, which was very much loads of languages and different voices, you're thinking, how do I do that? Because we had a massive Polish community. So I don't know how to pronounce that name. I just ask the question usually.
Yeah, nobody really minds.
I answer to much too. I used to be called Drive an awful lot because I used to be a truck driver, and you'd arrive as like, "You're right, Drive."
So I can't say I have any imaginative nicknames like that.
No, well, it wasn't that imaginative, was it? Anyway, right. Christians in media. We're going to talk about a conference coming up. Just really simply to start with, what's Christians in media all about?
Christians in Media is a UK network, and it's designed to gather, pray for, and inspire Christians across the media. So whether that is Christians within mainstream media, Christians in Christian media, or even people who would call themselves amateurs who have podcasts, or they are really present on social media. Anyone who has a voice out there in the world, we gather them, we pray for them, we inspire them to speak truth and integrity in the places that God has called them.
Which is really important. An example I use a lot because of the radio station. I got my magazine T-shirt on today, but on the radio, Lecrae is a Christian US hip hop artist, but he very, very specifically described himself as, "I am a hip hop artist who is a Christian," because if I'm a Christian hip hop artist, I would not go to any of the places I get to go to as a Christian and a hip hop artist, because they wouldn't let me through the door because, oh, you're just a Christian. But because he's hip hop first in their eyes, it means he gets to go places and do stuff. And I think that's a really, really important distinction, that as Christians, we are in all sorts of places, but we should be defined by our Christianity, not the thing that we do, which is part of us.
Yes, I've heard a few others who have done a similar thing and put the Christian second, not because it's second and less important to them, but because the place where God has called them is the first label that they give themselves. And Christian is just who they are. It's just a normal part of what they bring to everything and every space they go. And I think it's a really helpful way of shaping our work and our calling and the places where we are.
I totally agree, and our radio station is exactly the same. Right, Christians in Media, we've got a conference coming up, and we're excited. We're going to be there on the day as Pure Radio, my other T-shirt, to say live radio on site and all of that stuff. So just give us an overview. What's the conference about, and why have we got one?
So this is the second year of our Engage conference. And we've got one because we thought it was really important to gather Christians, actually get people face to face talking about things that are relevant to the profession, and to either be an amateur or professional, things that are relevant in the media space. So this year's Engage is called Shaping the Narrative. And specifically, we're going to be looking at faith, integrity, and joy in the media, as well as touching on grace and conflict. We did some of those topics in a slightly different way last year at Engage, but actually all of those things are topics and issues that everybody is encountering in every space that they are occupying. So we have different voices, we have a different look at it. We're also looking at what has changed since last year, because this space is evolving quite quickly. And so we are going to be gathering a lot of Christians across multiple different areas of the media. And yeah, it's going to be really lovely to be together again, especially because it's not just one organization. This is a breadth of organizations who all have Christians within them wanting to follow the Lord in those spaces.
And I think one of the interesting parts of the word, just the word media, is that you could easily think, well, media, that's the TV. No, that's just the radio. That's just the newspapers. But media is such a beautifully, helpfully broad thing. I'm in media. I've got a radio station that I run. I've got a magazine that I run. There's other projects as well. Media is a wonderful word because it's all sorts of things. And we really do need people who love Jesus Christ from Christian backgrounds, but the Christian background, it could be high Anglican. I'm quite happy doing the Common Book of Prayer in a high Anglican church, not with the bells and smells because of my asthma, but I can cope with that quite happily, as much as a Holy Spirit-filled Pentecostal worship session. I'm quite comfortable in both spheres, and I've spent time in both for all sorts of reasons, because it's people who love Jesus They just worship him and express that worship a bit differently.
They do. And the interesting thing with media, as you say, is for me, media is a public voice. And as Christians, we are called to be ambassadors, and we are called to have in some way that voice. And especially those who have a voice that is particularly public, that is a space where we can really preach Jesus. And with something like Engage, we are gathering people who may come from all of those different spectrums that you've just mentioned. And therefore, it's even more important for us to talk about how within that we disagree well. In what we see out there in the world, we see so many different backgrounds, opinions, perspectives. For Christians, at the heart of it is a love for Jesus and a desire to find his truth in where he has called us. So making sure we do represent all of those different areas is important, but making sure we bring them together so that we see the humans behind all of those perspectives and actually find a way where we can debate, discuss, challenge, seek truth, encourage one another in integrity. That for us is just a critical part of why we're gathering at Engage.
Because we have different opinions, we all think different things. If I sat down with somebody who runs a TV station or a TV show, I'm going to be telling them why they're wrong, that radio is actually the best thing in the world ever for reaching people, and they'll tell me conversely. And you know what? That's okay. I will accept them being wrong. But this is the thing. We actually need to be okay with the fact that we have a voice. I mean, I run a radio station. I have a bit more clout over what voice we have or the magazine, but actually that's just a function. It's just a role that I've got. And we each have a voice. But if you're involved in media in any context, whether it's creating images for use in a newspaper or the graphics at the end of a TV show, or you're just doing a podcast, it's not just anything. If God's called you to that, then you are in your calling. You're where you need to be for God. And who knows what you can do for his kingdom, even if you can't see who it is you're engaging with.
That's the beauty of being Christians wherever we are. Even if it's not something that is particularly public, a lot of people who are coming to Engage or engaging with Christians in media are people who may be in the charity world and they're trying to figure out how to share their message. They're people who are in churches, who are doing the media for their church locally in their community. They may not consider themselves media. They may not consider themselves someone with a public voice. But actually, as you just said, we all have a voice and we are all called to speak that voice and speak who God has made us to be in the places where God has called us to be. It's not a narrative that is always easy, and that's part of why we've called it shaping the narrative. But it is something that we need to have boldness and courage to speak into, and gathering together helps us in that.
I want to go back to the conference because I got my little rant point, which I wanted to put you to. Influencers. Now, I have some very specific thoughts on the term influencer. We see them on particularly Instagram, I think, is probably where they really started to become an entity in their own right. Why? Because they advertised something, someone saw that, they got some money, they got some followers, now they're influencers. But the thing is, we are all influencing the world around us. They're just using, very skillfully understanding the algorithms. Let's not, put too much amazing stuff on what they're doing. They're just working out how Instagram works to do best to get more followers, because all they want is followers. But as people who follow Christ, we're not after people following us, or we should not be, but we're trying to get people to look at us, to be reflected, the image of God in us, to follow him. What are your thoughts on that term influencer? Because it really annoys me.
I can't say it annoys me particularly. The idea of influencers is an idea of this generation, and it has come out of social media because it's much easier for everyone to have a voice and input onto something. The thing that influencers are growing off of is a desire in this generation for fitting in and belonging to something. Yeah. The influencers are there because they are speaking something that people want to hear. And as Christians, we are speaking something that maybe people don't want to hear, but need to hear. So the term itself doesn't necessarily bother me, but I do think that we can all be influencers. Even if you look at all of the stuff that is being spoken about across the board at the moment about the quiet revival, and the number of young people between around 18 and 24 who are walking into churches, who are coming into Christian spaces going, what is out there in the world is not working for me. What does your God, what does this church, what do you have to offer me that I can't find out there in the world? Even if influencers do have all of those followers, all of those clicks, it is not satisfying the people who are scrolling through those feeds. So as Christians, what is it that we are giving to people as an alternative that meets that longing for truth and something that is real and lasting, that isn't just that mindless content scrolling feed? The term doesn't bother me, but I think Christians have a real task on our hands to be bold enough to put out truth that is actually what people are longing for when they're looking at those influencers.
Thank you, Lani. As a word, it's just grown to great with me. My family know this. People who know me know this. I just think,
I'll know that for future. I'll never call myself an influencer or anyone else I know.
No, please, because I lose the plot. It's a soapbox for me. It's like I'll stand on my hill defending that one. I really don't like it. Let's come back to the Engage conference. Where is it going to be? When is it going to be? And how many people can we expect to be there if we fancy coming along?
So it is going to be at Sky headquarters in Osterley, and it's in partnership with Christians at Sky. It is on the 10th of October, Friday the 10th of October. If people find it easy to remember, it is 10:10. And it's going to be at about 9:30 till 4 o'clock, with plenty of time throughout, just before, just after, and in the middle, to gather and meet with others who are there. We're hoping to have 100 or more people there, so that we really can have a really broad gathering of people from completely different areas of the media to bring those voices into one space. There are still tickets available, and people would be most welcome to join us. We'd love to see you there.
We are looking forward to being there. I'm just looking forward to lots of different types of media being represented. We went to a brand new event called Artistry in Manchester, and that was really good because there were all sorts of people who were trying to become actors or working TV, because it was in the where the TV stuff's all filmed in Manchester. There was a district, and just the breadth. We were there. There was some of our friends from UCB Radio were there. So that's 2 radio stations, and there were loads of other things. And what was lovely, it wasn't just there was some pizza there. Hey, look, we all like pizza. It's the fact that there were so many different types of creatives, which ultimately, if you're a media, you're creating something, that were there, from producers and directors and actors and wannabe actors and TV stuff. And it was brilliant just to see, was it 200 people or something in a room just saying, no, we worship God and we work in media. How can we pray for each other? How can we support that? Yeah. That moment is a highlight for me for this year, which is why I'm so excited that we can do live radio with you guys at Christians in Media.
I'm so glad that you're going to be doing live radio with us at the Engage conference. And I completely agree. We've already got so many people from Christian media, so many people from mainstream media, so many people from publishing, from charities signed up. The voices are going to be diverse, which is lovely. It brings in so many different opinions and thoughts, but all of them are there because they want to gather. They want to actually encourage one another in integrity and boldness and courage within their spaces, because it's not easy. So it's going to be fabulous to gather together.
And I think it doesn't matter what your background, the reason why you're there. You just started a podcast, you look after the screen on a Sunday on a church. It doesn't really matter if you're creating something that's media, ultimately. And we all need encouragement. And there's a good chance that someone in that room, they've come across that too. Why can't I get this to do that? We had this. Why don't you try that? We've got some new presenters, and they've got one who's got a Mac computer, and we can't get it to work. So we've gone to the source. We've gone to the people who made the software for our radio, and they said, we've got a solution for that. We can't fix it. We tried. But there's always somebody else you can ask who knows. Now, okay, they developed an app because Apple's are silly and they've got restrictions, and they've built something to work around that. But that's the point. Somebody somewhere has got the information and the guidance.
I think one of my favourite quotes from one of our guests last year was, she came up to me at the end and she said, I was expecting the content to be good. I knew it would be kind of, good quality content and good quality speakers. But what I wasn't expecting was to be encouraged. And I just thought that was such a fabulous encouragement to us as, running that conference. But actually, it was a little bit sad in some ways that we go to these spaces expecting potentially some good quality content, but not necessarily a space where we as brothers and sisters can encourage one another and be encouraged in our calling and in where God is calling us, and be affirmed in that, and be given practical, solutions to some things perhaps, but also just to be praying together, or to be speaking about things that are on our mind and that God has put on our mind together. And the fact that she said, I wasn't expecting it, but I was, that was just a real blessing to me last year.
Yeah. The artistry event I went to, there were some brilliant things throughout the evening. The only thing that I would say was my highlight was the prayer. We had little moments of prayer for each other. And I met people from some really diverse areas of media and different levels. I've been in it for 40 years and I want to get into it, and I loved the fact that regardless of the backgrounds, we just had some moments of prayer. That was more precious even than the pizza which arrived, and that's a big deal. But it was beautiful to have some prayer, and it was encouraging just to be in a space with other people who love Jesus and love media.
That's the other thing, actually, is the multi-generational element of it. Not necessarily even just in age, but in terms of how long people have been in the media. You do have people who've said, I've been here for 2 weeks. I know that this is kind of the direction I'm going. Then we've got people there who have had decades in mainstream media or Christian media who have experienced a lot of things. And for those on the first baby steps of that journey, to have people who've been there, gone ahead of them, paved the way, been through things that can actually share their experience, that is invaluable. And on the other end of the spectrum, for those people to still know they have value to share and encourage the next generation, that is invaluable too. So bringing generations together is also just beautiful to watch.
Fab. If you weren't thinking of coming, and you can get into London, was it a week Friday from when we're recording this? You need to get to London, because we dropped this in really quickly because we were just having a chat about us coming. So we're pre-recording this one for you because it's important to get yourself to Christians in Media and book up for the slot if you can get there. If you're caring for the media in your church, or I don't know, if you're working in the BBC or Sky TV, perhaps not a very far trip if you're at Sky TV House and you can come there. So, get yourself there. It'd be really good, because you know what, as people who believe in Jesus Christ and love media and providing a need, I'd like to think we're doing that with the magazine and the radio that we do. It's providing something. Okay, for us, very specifically, bad language-free music. That's it. Nothing else. We're all providing something, and not everyone will care about that, and some people will care more about that. But that's the exciting bit, is that there's different people.
Yeah, we all want to be sharing one kingdom. We want to be telling one story, and we all have our way of doing that. But we are still one kingdom family, and we want to do it together.
Amen to that. What's the website where people can come and sign up should they wish?
Christiansinmedia.co.uk. Simples.
It's no, simple's good. We like simple. We were trying to come up with a website for a radio station that plays pure music 24/7. So Pure 247 Radio was born because, hey, it works. It does what the magazine. I'm not trying to get my magazine name in, but Pure Media, the magazine. It's a magazine from Pure Media, and it's a Pure Media, the magazine. We don't have to overthink things sometimes, and sometimes the more obvious, the better it is. So christiansinmedia.co.uk, head over there, go and check them out, sign up to the newsletter if you're there. They've got a Facebook group and all the rest of it. You can go and get involved. But if you're involved in media, just remember, you're not on your own, because there's a whole conference coming up which you can come attend to. And remind yourself, I'm a Christian in media. There's others too. Lani, christiansinmedia.co.uk, thank you for squeezing this in today so we can get this out as soon as we can. And we're really excited to be there and meet some people and just be in a room with a bunch of Christians who happen to be in media.
My pleasure. Thanks, Andy.
Did you know that at Pure 24/7 Radio, we also offer advertising? Advertising really does work. Let's face it, you're listening to this. Want to know more? Well, just go to pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org/advertising, and you can get everything you want and more there.